Hello, I am back home in the UK. I'm very tired. I filmed this on Friday morning and this has got to go out Friday afternoon. Normally I wouldn't film it this late, but I just haven't had time this week to film. I'll catch you up in a minute on what's happening in Norway and my last few days in Norway. Got a little bit of a kind of 2-minute mini vlog to show you from my travel yesterday. Travelled home yesterday. I left my parents about 9:30. I think, yeah, about 9:30, and I got home here in Cornwall at midnight. Everything went to plan. There were no delays, but you just got to allow extra time. Talk about that more in a minute. I have finished my sweater that I was working on in Norway. I did not finish in Norway, which was my goal. If you watched the last 2 podcasts, it was my goal to finish in Norway. I didn't do that, so I'm going to tell you about this sweater. I'm going to tell you about what else I was knitting in Norway, and I'm going to share some of the stuff I was knitting just before I went to Norway, because I was about to record a podcast when I had to dash off to Norway. So I will share what I was knitting over Christmas and New Year with you as well. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you're new here, my name is Anniken. I design knitting patterns. I teach knitting workshops online and in person. And I sell yarn through my website, YarnAddict.co.uk, which has now reopened. And I am doing a special offer. I had a 20% off when I left for Norway, so I had to switch that off quickly. And I had a few days left to run. So I'm going to do another offer for, I think, a week. But I'll put the details on the screen because I haven't worked it out yet. My plan was to get it up and running before I left Norway, but I just didn't have time. The last few days were really busy. So before I go on to tell you about the last few days in Norway, I'm just going to share about this sweater because I'm really hot and I think I want to take it off because it's quite warm, and our house is quite warm in the morning and I've just had a warm shower, so I am quite hot. This is the sweater I was knitting in Norway. I'll insert a video here that I just took outside. I basically finished it yesterday at the airport in Oslo, and I finished the sleeve. I can't remember how many rounds I had to go on the sleeve. I did have quite a few hours in the airport, so I did knit quite a bit in the airport. I managed to finish the second sleeve on this one. Then I've woven all the ends. I've done some of them, but I did the rest of them, which you'll see in my little mini vlog later on. But I'm really pleased with this. Length is fine. As I was talking about, I think last week, I made the back slightly longer. I did, I think, 10 rounds of rib or rows of rib at the front and 20 rounds at the back, and I split. It's got a split hem, which I really like, and really pleased with it. It has beads at the top here, which I really like. A little bit worried about the sleeves. They just feel like they're maybe just a little bit short, so I may undo the cast off and just add another 5 to 10 rounds of rib. I'm not going to go back to before the rib and do that. I'm just going to add a bit of length to the rib, I think. But I want to wear it a few times first just to see if it relaxes a bit. Let me just give you a quick look at it. So that's the sleeves. I did enjoy knitting with this yarn. I did not. So that's the beads at the front, either side of the V-neck. Really like that. That's the other sleeve, and then the back. I will write this pattern up. My goal was to get it written up and edited and tested so I could release it this winter, but yeah, I've been a bit slow doing it. I don't know why. It's just last year, there's been a lot happening in the last year and it's just been really busy, and obviously this year I didn't get off till the best start. So I will write it up at some point, because I know some of you have said you really like to see it, so I will write it up. And this is the second one I've knitted on the smaller needles, the 3mm needles, and I do think that looks a lot better. I'm also thinking about knitting this same sweater in Manos Uruguay Merino, which is just there. It's the same number of meters as this, but it hasn't got the fluffiness. I like to knit the sweater in either that colour. If it was all that kind of darker, brighter purple, I would go for that one. Or this one. This one's blue with a hint of purple. I don't know whether it's too blue for me because I wear a lot of black, and I also quite like those two colours. I don't know. So I'm thinking about that. I am thinking about what I'm going to take with me as a project next time I go to Norway, which is only 4.5 weeks away, so it's not very long. But I don't know if I'm going to have time to write up this sweater before, but I was thinking about maybe knitting it in smooth yarn just to see what that looks like, and have a sort of lighter weight sweater to wear over the summer. This is merino. Yeah, 100% superwash merino, but it's quite thin and it's a singles yarn. So I don't know. I need to think about it. I got 4.5 weeks till I go back to Norway again, so I need to decide what knitting project to take me with me. Then I'm going for 2 weeks again. This was a planned trip, the next one, so that was planned since like the end of November, and I'm not going to get my money back. And if I cancels, I don't think so. I might as well go, and also it'll give me a chance to see how my mum is. So I'm thinking about knitting this again, so I can write it off for like 2 different types of yarn, but I haven't decided yet, so I will get onto that at some point, I promise. Right, let's put that down. So if anyone haven't been watching for the last few weeks, I had to make a emergency trip to Norway at the end of December because my mum fell and broke her hip and had to have an operation. And my dad has dementia, so he can't really be on his own, although he said he would have been fine. Probably would have been fine with carers coming in every day, but I felt happier knowing somebody was with him. Came home on Tuesday and I left on Thursday. So we only had, I picked her up in the middle of the day on Tuesday. So we only had like 1 full day at home. But she's already managing to shower on her own. She's walking around with a walking high walker. I'm not sure they're called in the UK. Norwegian they're called rullator. And I heard a friend of mine called it, but she put it in writing, so I don't quite know how you pronounce it in English, but a rollator, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but it has like a high handle thing, so she can rest her forearms on it. And she's managing to get around their flat quite nicely with that. She's got a few things to help her, like chairs in the shower and different things. So far she's doing really well. Somebody's coming in once a day to help with a couple of things that she's struggling with. Doing really well. So I felt happy coming back because I was worried about maybe I should have stayed a few more days. But when I booked my flight back, we thought to be coming back home on Monday, and then it got postponed till Tuesday. If you've seen the last couple of podcasts, you will know that we had quite a lot of snow while I was in Norway. When I arrived, there was no snow. On the first day, there was no snow. It started snowing, so first time we went to see my mum, I think was on New Year's Eve, because the day after I arrived, she had an operation, so we couldn't see her. And then the day after was New Year's Eve, we went to see her at the hospital, and when I was walking out to get the car, it was snowing, and then it snowed quite a lot, and at one point it was -13, and then the last few days it got milder and the snow started melting and it went very icy, and not quite as nice. But I have a couple of videos from a couple of snowy walks which I will share with you now. Let's talk about what else I was knitting in Norway. So I'm just going to get my sock blocker out. Sometimes get a question, do you really need to block socks? My answer would be no, not really, but unless you're going to give them away to somebody. Socks are knitted with negative ease, which means that the circumference is smaller than your foot and leg. So when you put them on, that will naturally stretch them a bit. But obviously, they don't look great straight off the needles. So if you are going to give them away to somebody, you might want to block them or just steam press them, or something to help the fabric relax a little bit. So this yarn I bought when I got to Norway. It is Regia Design Line. I think this is an old yarn. Regia Design Line Random Stripe by Calf Facet. Focus now. It has 75% superwash new wool, 25% polyamide, and there are 210 meters per 50 grams. So I used one ball for the first one. I didn't use the whole ball. I had a little bit left. I don't know what's happened to that. I've got size 8 feet, so quite long feet, and I do knit my cuffs quite long. I did from the heel to the top, I think 90 rounds, 30 rounds of rib at the top. And I did, instead of doing my normal afterthought heel, which is what I normally do when I use self-striping yarn, I did a gusset. This one is top up, this one is the toe up. So when I got to here, I started increasing for a gusset, did a short row heel, and then I decreased the gusset up here. But there is a little bit I'm not 100% happy about, and that's the little glip I get when I go back to knitting in the round after doing the heel. This is better than the socks I've knitted before using this technique, but I'm still not 100% happy, so I need to look at that before I decide whether to write up this pattern or not. But I finished that on the plane yesterday. I think I posted on social media on Instagram stories that I had 30 rounds left to knit, and I was waiting at the gate. I actually had half the rib to knit, and the whole rib is 30 rounds. I had 15 rounds left to knit, and I did not manage to finish that before I boarded the plane. I finished the last 15 rounds of the rib on the plane, and then I also did the sewn cast off at the top on the plane, I think. Yes, I'm pretty sure I did it on the plane. When I got to Paddington, there's a pub that I usually go to. I was joking with Simon yesterday, saying it's my regular, because it's probably the pub I've been to the most in the last year, because every time I come back from Norway, I go to the pub and have a meal and sit there and knit till I have to go and get my train. And actually, I went downstairs to get the train about 45 minutes before my train was due to leave, to pop into a convenience store and the pharmacy and get a couple of things, get some snacks and drinks for the train, get a hot chocolate for the train, things like that. And then I sat down near the information boards, but not right in front of them. And I was like, it'll come up on my app. And I was sitting there chilling, and my train was 8:03. And suddenly I was like, what's the time? Oh, it's 10 to 8. And I looked on my app, and the platform was already up. So I was like, oh, I've got to get to my train. Luckily, I was quite close to where the platform was, so I didn't have any problems getting on the train. But I was like, I could have been sitting here and just missed my train, which would have been very frustrating. So I didn't get to Plymouth like about 1:45 last night. So I got home at midnight, which is quite late. But I cast on for these socks while I was sitting in the pub. And so toe up, that's the toe, and then I knitted, I think, about nearly 30 rounds. Where that marker is 25 rounds. So I've done 25, done 16, 17, 18, 19, yeah, 30 rounds after the toe. So this will now become my sort of out and about on the go project. I'm teaching a sock knitting workshop tomorrow, toe up socks. So I might take this with me then, just in case I get a chance to knit. Because it is at least topical to what the workshop's about. On Monday, I went to a nearby shopping centre in a town called Ski, just south of Oslo, and they have a really nice yarn shop there called Nøstemate, which means my ball of yarn. Nøste is basically like a ball of yarn. It's a really nice yarn shop. If you're in Oslo on holiday, I wouldn't necessarily get a train out there just to go to that yarn shop, because there are equally good yarn shops and probably better yarn shops in Oslo. But it's a really nice yarn shop. I went in to have a look around. At that point, I was still thinking maybe I could finish my sweater and my second sock before I left for home. So I was looking around. I had an idea for knitting a headband. I went for a walk a couple of days before, I think it was the day before, 2 days before, just as the sun was setting. And it was so cold. And I didn't put my hat on because it wasn't actually that cold. The temperature that day hadn't been that cold. And I thought, I'm going to get warm when I'm walking, so I'm not putting my hat on. And then because it was going dark and the sun was setting, it was actually quite windy as well. So it was colder than I realised. And my forehead and my ears were quite cold. But it would have been too warm to wear my hat, I think, because it wasn't that many degrees below zero. And I thought I could really do with a headband. I do have a brioche one, but it's quite thick. So I was thinking maybe knitting a headband that's a little bit thinner. So when I went to this yarn shop, I did look around to see if I could find yarn to knit a headband in, because I thought that would be a nice, easy travel project for the way home. But I couldn't find anything I particularly desperately wanted. So I ended up not buying anything. And I'm glad I didn't, because I had enough problems finishing what I'd knitted. I really wanted to finish that grey sweater before I came home. And I also wanted to finish the socks so I could leave that to Norway, because I wear socks in bed every night because my feet are always cold. And I wanted to leave that in Norway if I finished it. But I didn't finish it, so I thought I'd need to buy another project and knit on the way home, or I'd take those socks with me home. Might do next time I go to Norway. I might cast on a pair of socks before I leave and knit them on the way to Norway and while I'm in Norway, and then leave those in Norway, but we'll see. So in 4 weeks time I'm going to unravel. It's my next big event. It is 4 weeks from today, I think. 14th, 15th and 16th of February. It's at the Maltings in Farnham in Surrey, because I haven't done Unravel since 2019, so it's been a long time. So I'm a little bit, I'm used to doing YarnAddict because I know I've done that every year since it started, so I know the setup and everything, but I haven't done Unravel for a while, and the setup at Unravel is very different. At YarnAddict, you basically in a cattle pen, so you have 3 walls around you. Don't get that at Unravel because it's an old building. I don't know where I am yet. I've always been in one of the bigger rooms. I'm hoping I don't end up in one of the small rooms, because there are some rooms where they're just like 1 or 2 stalls, and it is a bit of a higgledy-piggledy building, so it's easy to kind of be forgotten. And I think the people who have like grid walls and stuff are okay, but I don't have grid walls because I only do 2 or 3 shows a year. This year, if I get into YarnAddict, there will be 2 shows. I was going to apply for one in Cornwall in March, but it's actually the weekend after I get back from Norway, and it's just going to be too much. I can't cope with it, especially considering the fact that so Unravel is Friday, Saturday and Sunday. We drive home Sunday night. I have Monday at home, then I go to Norway on the Tuesday, and I have to be at the station for 6 in the morning. So I'm not going to apply for this March show in Cornwall. It's Kerno Yaff at the Royal Cornwall Showground is sometime in early mid-March. I think it's the weekend after I come back from Norway, but I've decided it's just going to be too much. So I'm not doing that this year. I had hoped to do it because I can't. They've done one in September as well for the last 2 years, I think, and I haven't done that one because it's too close to YarnAddict. So I really wanted to do this spring one, and I saw they had a spring one. I actually said to one of the organisers, that's perfect, I can apply for that one. And then I decided to go to Norway, and I realised I can't make it work. So Unravel is one show I'm doing this year. I'll be doing YarnAddict as well, but I need to get my application in. So I'm really excited about Unravel, but I've got a lot to do in 4 weeks. So to finish off what I did in Norway, let's just finish with a little travel vlog from yesterday. It's only 2 minutes. And just showing some of the stuff I knitted and my rather slippery walk to the station. Snow was melting fast. I reckon if it doesn't get colder this week, it'll probably be gone by the end of the week because it was melting quite fast, but it was freezing overnight. So at the beginning of the video, you may struggle to hear me, but I only talk right at the beginning. But I was saying that it's all downhill from where my parents live. Normally my mum would drive me to the station, but she can't drive yet. So I walked down. It's a 15-minute walk, like 15-minute steady walk. and it's all downhill. The steepest hill was well gritted, so that was fine, but the bit through the town centre was a bit icier, and the last bit of the station was very icy, and the station itself was very icy. So it was an interesting walk, but this clip is 2 minutes long if you want to scroll forward. I'm walking to the station, heading home today. It is very, very icy because it's been a few degrees above zero during the day, so the snow's been melting, and then below zero at night it's been freezing. But the pavements or the footpath and the roads are fairly well gritted, and it's all downhill to the station. Still a bit of snow around. Talk about what I was knitting before I went to Norway. So I knitted several hats before Christmas, one for Simon and one each for my daughters. I showed those off, I think, before Christmas. I'm not going to show them again because the girls assume I've taken this back to Wales and Simon has been wearing his. So I'm not going to show you those, but I'm going to release this hat pattern soon. I thought before Christmas I was waiting to hear back from my tech editor. Turned out she was waiting to hear back from me. So I need to, and there was quite a lot of edits, so I started working on them in Norway, but I didn't finish it. So I need to get on and finish that early next week so we can get that pattern released. But I decided to cast on for another one. So this is Manuel's Uruguay Alegria. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to knit one layer, because it's like a double layer hat. I don't have one here to show you. It's a double layer hat, so I'm going to knit one layer in this colour, and then I'm going to knit the other layer in that colour, because I had this left from another project, and this ball, the label had fallen off, so I can't sell it. So I decided to wind this up. So one layer will be this colour and one layer will be this colour, with the idea that you can flip them over whichever way. And I may actually do them with like a fold-up brim, so you get the contrasting colour on the brim. So I'm going to try and finish this so I can have it on display at Unravel. So even though this was kind of like a bit of an out and about project over Christmas, I do need to prioritize it for the next week or so and see if I can make some proper progress on it. I probably should have taken this with me as a travel project when I went to Norway. That would have probably been better than casting on for new socks, but because I had so little time to decide, I was a bit like, I don't know what to do, so I ended up not taking it. But I will try and prioritize this for the next week or so and see if I can finish it. The project I was working on before Christmas was this, which uses my YarnAddict from the Discreet Unicorn, but I only used like between 3 and 4 grams, I think, of each colour. So it starts with day 1 at the bottom. I did 3 rows of each colour, then I used black. I did have a problem with the top right at the end, so I've done a kind of fold over top. So I knitted, I think about 10 rounds, maybe 12, I'm not sure, and then I did a purl round, and then I knitted the same number of rounds, and I folded it over and stitched it in place. And to start with, I did on the same number of stitches as the actual bag, and that ended up way too big. And then I can't remember now, I think I did like a third less stitches. I did one decrease round that was still too wide, and I think I ended up with, and I think I first did it with a quarter less stitches and that was still too wide, and then maybe a third less stitches. I have it written down somewhere, but I don't know where at the moment. So obviously the pattern will be correct wherever it comes out. So I haven't steam pressed this one yet, so it's a little bit bumpy. Let me show you the inside. But my goal, not this weekend because I won't have time because I got a workshop tomorrow, but next week I want to steam press this, line it. I need to decide on handles. That is where I joined. You see that bit down here looks a bit messy because that's where I joined and that's where I woven in all the ends. So let's show you the other side instead because that looks a bit nicer. I do quite like the wrong side of colour work, but I have like 15 grams left of each colour, so I need to decide on another yarn for this. Can you see that it's a sparkly yarn? It's very quite subtle. But I'm really excited about this, so I need to get that finished over the next few days and decide what I'm going to do with the rest of it. There is another update on another Advent project, but I'm going to leave that for next week. And then the other project that I started, I think in October, which I need to carry on with before I cast on anything else, is this. So I'm mainly taking this out for like accountability. So I started a brioche clutch. So this is my glamour clutch. It is a bit floppy. I started a brioche clutch. I'm using the pink yarn is from the Discreet Unicorn and the other yarn is from Spectrum Fibre. But I thought they went nicely together. It's like the rainbow speckled tweed yarn. Neon tweed, I think it's called. This yarn is a little bit of a nuisance to knit with because some of these bits do fall off. So if you're wearing black, you do kind of end up with little speckles on you. But somebody who I think is coming, well, yeah, pretty sure she's coming to my workshop on Saturday at the Knitting Hotel. She knitted, I think it was black. Was it black with the neon speckles, or was it, no, dark grey, I think, with the neon speckles. I think it was from the Discreet Unicorn. Last time she was on my workshop at the Knitting Hotel, and I really, really liked it. And I am thinking about maybe seeing if I can get some 4-ply to do a sweater with at some point, but I don't know. But I'm going to try and get on with that over the next week as well before I cast on anything new. I do have another project which has been on hold for a while, so I'm just going to leave that for now, I think. And then I don't think I talked about that in the last podcast before I left for Norway, but this is the yarn I finished spinning just before Christmas. So I finished spinning it, I soaked it in lukewarm water, and you do a lot of kind of snapping and flinging it around and stuff to like settle it. I don't know what the correct term is, but I'm really quite happy with it. It's much better than the yarn I spun earlier last year. This was the first yarn I spun when I got back into spinning in April. Before that, I was in the progress of spinning, so I took everything that was on my bobbin off because it'd been sitting on there for 10 years. Then I spun this, and can you see how uneven and lumpy bumpy? I probably spun for like 7 years or so before I had a break. I'd had my spinning wheel for 5 years, then I had a 10-year break, but that's very lumpy. I'm not intending to knit with that, but I thought I would keep it for like reference. And then I started spinning this. I don't know what I've done with the label, but it is from Hilltop Fibre. Katie, I think she's called. It was in my stash. I don't know how long I've had it. I can't remember what it is. I do have the label somewhere, but I don't know where I've got it. But I don't know what to do with this. It's not particularly soft. So I don't know what to do with it. I feel like I should wind it up and try and knit with it, but I don't know what to do with it. So at the moment I'm just going to wind it into skein and admire it. I think my local spinning group is next Saturday. Yes, I think it is. So I'm hoping to maybe go to that, but I may have to do a workshop next Saturday. I don't know yet. I'm on standby for something. So I may not be here next Saturday. If I am, I might go to the spinning group, because I do want to try and do more spinning this year than I did last year. My 5 brethren from For the Love of Yarn to spin up as well. So I did start that between Christmas and New Year. So I may do a separate spinning vlog this month. I don't know, I might try and do it over the next 4 weeks before I head back to Norway again. That is it for today. Thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. I'll be back on Tuesday with another video. I'm not sure what yet, but I have 3 videos I've kind of semi-planned out to film on Monday. So as it's the beginning of the year, I've seen loads of YouTube videos and social media posts on what I knitted in 2024, and I'd actually planned to do one of those videos as well but then I had to go to Norway, and now I'm like, we're halfway through January. I don't think I can be bothered to do it. But loads of people are doing those kind of videos, and I saw loads of posts on social media, and I also saw loads of people posting that they're feeling inadequate, and how do people manage to knit so much, and this person has knitted 20 sweaters, how do they do it? So I did a little video on that, which I released on Tuesday. I've done a similar video before. So if you are feeling inadequate because some people knit more than you, go and watch that video. Or if you just fancy something to watch and you haven't seen it yet, go and watch it. I'll link it at the end of this video and below. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next week.